China's next gutter oil moment is here, prepackaged dishes. Now, it mainly serves students in schools and kindergartens. How is this $1 million industry suddenly booming in China? And is this rationing and readying for war, or something else is happening? Welcome to China Insider, I'm David Zhang. Today's topic is quite peculiar. In a strange shift in eating culture, now there's a social phenomenon in China called pre-prepared meals. It's a crossover between meals ready to eat and meal subscriptions. Now, China's takeouts and schools now are adopting this new industry. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem, but because it's the CCP, it's bound to be disastrous. In a country that has fake food, fake everything, it's using gutter oils for cooking. Would you really be willing to try something like this? Now, parents found out how disgusting the food preparation was and at these particular facilities. So for these so-called pre-prepared meals, people online started to search how much extra ingredients actually go into them, like preservatives, toxic chemicals, etc. And now the parents are boycotting it for their school lunch program. Knowing a country with such a moral decline as to use gutter oil and toxic chemicals in cooking, this is of course where it's heading. Bad quality, pre-prepared food for kids. What's strange is that this whole industry is now being invested by the same guy who made hundreds of millions of dollars selling COVID testing in China. Now, before we get started, let's do a quick sponsor video. So you hear me talk about this dermaroller face mask a lot, and it's got hyaluronic acid, which actually improves your skin by protecting and healing it. Now, for me, this has been a saving grace when it comes to breakouts for acne, as it has helped me actually feel like the acne heals much better than before. Now, one of the reasons is actually because for me, my skin tends to get really oily throughout the day, and especially during summertime. Now, the mask has been providing hydration, which lasts throughout the whole week. So I use it once a week, and the results have been really good. I took this photo recently. Now, I feel like the breakouts that I get are much less severe, and they go down and recover much faster. I've also very much noticed that I'm getting less oil on my face throughout the day. And this is a great gift for your girlfriend or your family or your wife. And if you're personally looking for a skin routine, this is a great first step to get started. So check out Blueberry Quality Products shop and click the link in the description, and you'll get 15% off all products there. And if you spend $70 or more, you will also receive free shipping in the US. So click the link in the description and check it out. All right, back to the video. First, let's go into what the heck pre-prepared meals are actually and then we'll talk about the scary industry approach to where this is all heading. Now, pre-prepared meals are essentially cooked and packaged in a facility, and they're in plastic bags. Some shops, like this video here, will heat it up afterwards in a hot water bath, and then add it into each container and call it a day, ready for delivery. Now, it becomes a rising industry during the lockdowns in China. Restaurants closed, and people slowly accepted the pre-prepared meals instead of chef's cooked meals, and now the public promotion is making it seem like they want everybody to accept it as the norm. Now, this may be potentially a preparation for bigger catastrophic events on the way in China, potentially more pandemics or a war or the worsening economy. Whatever it is, it's going to cause a large-scale disaster in China, and they vigorously promote pre-prepared meals to be ready for that. Now, in reality, if this was happening in another country, it probably would be problem-free. But then again, the uniqueness of the CCP environment breeds trouble on its own. Again, I'm not saying that all prepared meals in China are going to be bad, but that's the reality in China. You have to question food safety. Certain food must be heated through thoroughly, right, by bringing it to a certain temperature. I doubt that's what's being measured in these shops. And plus, if the food processing facility already looks this dirty, there must be bacterial overgrowth and whatever else is in those packaging. Probably gutter oil too. Now, according to the man who has made prepackaged meals for 7 to 8 years, on video here, he strongly opposes putting the program in school. He says that there are 3 factors why prepared dishes are used in China. First, it's for big crowds in a festival or event, and second, it's easy to keep the costs down. And third, it's about maintaining the same standard for feast or weddings, etc. on the menu. And then he says that all packaged food uses heavy amounts of preservatives to keep them from going bad, simply because Chinese government allows them to do this and to use as much as they want. And he says here that the food that's left overnight could cause cancer. If that's the case, then the prepackaged food must be even worse. Now, he's basically trying to illustrate that the point of these prepackaged meals aren't for regular consumption, but they're actually for special occasions. Now, it's basically like serving MREs to kids every day. But unlike MRE or frozen packaged ready-to-eat meals, these are not regulated by food safety groups. And of course, the reason schools use them is because, well, they don't have to hire as many chefs or kitchen staff, keeping the cost down and the revenue margin high. And if this industry is suddenly becoming a popular one, right, the next big thing, then you know that something fishy is going on. There's bound to be bad stuff happening behind the scenes. So what's taking place now in China? They're seeing a wide adoption of this, especially in schools and kindergartens. And it's becoming a lucrative business as we speak for all the people with no morals. They can range from household cuisines to restaurant specials, and they do it quickly too. You get a variety of menu items, and what you do is you go order that dish. It normally would take a chef 20 minutes to prepare. It now only takes 1 to 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. In this case in the video, the lady is able to prepare 10 plus orders at the same time. So first of all, it's strange, right, to go to a restaurant and to try to enjoy the cooking of a chef, his skills or her skills, and then suddenly you're presented with this idea that some lady in the back just cuts open bags of food and dumping it into a bowl and calling it a day. That's a big problem. How long have these been cooked and left in the bags? Well, apparently long enough to require that you need preservatives. So China's food regulation is like worldwide bottom tier. They even use gutter oil for many years, and it's still happening. So do you really trust their food safety protocols? So for example, this one bag here, it's a prepared dish, and it has an expiration date of 365 days, so a year. Apparently, this is supposed to be edible 1 year from now on. How does one keep a cuisine-like dish? By the way, this is what the dish actually looks like on a normal plate, fresh for 365 days. Impossible. Now, there's these pictures that they took of the food preparation facility. It looks like there's meat on the floor. Most of these look like frozen or zombie-looking chicken legs, and it almost looks like it's rotting. But this isn't supposed to be how you prepare for that meal. Now, people look towards the neighboring Japan, which also uses prepared dishes, but look at them. The expiration date is about 3 days for their dishes. That's normal. And take a look at this video here. That's a clean preparation process in Japan. And that's considering they're catering it to the kids. Now, if this was happening in China on a singular base, that's whatever, right? It's boycotting the restaurant and then you move on. But this trend is now becoming a norm in China, especially in many schools. At least the ones normal people go to. Some of these look like the most bland dishes too. Sure, you may be thinking that, well, David, American school cafeteria lunches are also equally disgusting. But let me tell you, a huge difference in terms of food safety standards. Now, the food quality isn't actually even the major issue. It's for parents at least, what they put in it along with the food, which is loads of preservatives and chemicals. That's not healthy for kids to consume on a daily basis. And someone even listed the ingredients needed to prepare the dishes, which includes nitrites and other harmful substances, and that's over the standard. Now think of that. Because of the lack of treatment, you also have bacterial overgrowth on these ingredients, and which are also not fresh to begin with. And then so after hearing this, a lot of parents started cooking lunch for the kids and bringing it to school for them. And this has become a war to fight against the school lunch program that's already sending a kid to the hospital. Now, due to the huge backlash, yesterday an official from the education ministry comes out and says that after research, given that there's currently no unified standard system, there's no certification system for food safety, no traceability system, right? So to take responsibility and other regulatory mechanisms, so that we must take a very cautious attitude to when it comes to prepared dishes. And so essentially what they're saying that it's not appropriate to promote them into campuses. But what they're saying is until the day that we have a unified system, which I'll tell you a little bit later, is coming, we shouldn't have these in schools. Okay, so that's the catch, right? It's not going to be convincing me to say that this is gone forever. This is just not showing up now, but they're going to introduce it later. Okay, so compare that to the kindergartens here, which CCP officials send their kids to. This is the menu that they have, which is curated by a chef, carefully prepared into beautifully shaped food items. And they get to enjoy that because their parents are government officials, Communist Party officials. That's a class difference right there. I mean, why aren't the CCP officials' kindergarten feeding them prepared dishes? Are they going to not hire a chef for this? Why the huge difference? Obviously, we know that. But what's peculiar about this case of prepared dish is that now the official state media, CCTV, has come out to endorse the program. Here they have a weird competition for prepared dishes. I mean, what are they trying to do? Find which one has more MSG and preservatives? And this is the state media, but there's also 2 provincial level events, at least from what I've seen, for the prepared dishes. So it's a campaign, it's a nationwide campaign, and it's super strange to have the provincial government promote what is essentially MRE and telling everyone to eat this every day instead of regular food or home-cooked meals. In fact, after researching a bunch, a businessman that profited off of COVID testing during the lockdown is now venturing into the world of prepared dishes. How strange is that? How can a mega profitable COVID company suddenly become interested in food preparation? Well, this guy's name is Zhang Hezi. Now, Hezi literally translates to nuclear in Chinese. And it just so happens that Mr. Nuclear Zhang here, he ran an ultra-profitable nuclear acid COVID test business during the height of the pandemic in China. He's also known as the king of nuclear acid tests. During the pandemic in China, he opened up 35 COVID testing companies all across the country. And it just happens that everywhere he had one open, there was a lockdown. And the virus came after he opened. For example, he opened one nuclear acid testing center in the city of Hefei in September of 2022, and then an outbreak occurred in that same city in October, just a month after. Same thing in the city of Taiyuan. His company was established in October of 2022, and a pandemic broke out in that province in November. And so people call him I believe it's COVID sage or COVID foresighter. Anyways, he's registered a company now in Wuhan, the place that the virus came from, to do the food packaging business. I'm scared. He's so quick to pivot to businesses that aren't even his field, right? What kind of genius knows everything about what's happening in China? Even some of the news sites in China are writing articles questioning his motives. Like, how can he be in the right venture at the right time to match China's political changes, right? Essentially simultaneously. In China, you need a strong political backing to do business. The bigger the scale of your business, the bigger the political backing that you must have. You must have a nationwide business, which means that you must have a nationwide connection in the political circle, and it must be strong enough. So that means if somebody is looking out for you in Beijing, well, then you can do a big scale business in China. So I wonder who's looking after these people for them to profit during zero COVID and its testing center. It must be somebody from the central government and pretty high up. And now they're venturing into education and then endorsing prepared dishes. It must be indicating something politically is changing in China. Are they looking to prepare for war, or are the kids getting, and later on adults as well, used to rationing again? That's what happened during the Cultural Revolution. So this Zhang Hezi, some online rumor that says he has an extensive connection with Xi Jinping. Now, I have no idea how we can confirm any of this, as I try to look for the public records or any indications. I can't find anything. What's even more weirder than that is that he's also looking into community rental homes as a business. And a little bit more on this in the end. Now, not only just that business, back in 2010, he was already ahead of the time with the waves of DNA-related ventures in China, which includes genetics and bioinformation industries. And he opened up a DNA testing company back in 2012. And now he has 64 companies across China that switched from DNA testing to COVID testing. And guess how much money they made? 60 million a year in profit. Now, some sources claim that he owns almost 100 companies in total in China, and most of it seems to have switched to nuclear acid COVID testing. And that was during the pandemic. So now, potentially, they're all moving to the food preparation business. Look, I don't want to sound like this guy is the most evil villain of the world, but he's fully prepared for the return of the Cultural Revolution. And he's way ahead of everybody else in China. That's pretty weird. Now, I talked about community rental, and there's community eating, rationing, like the food items, right? The prepared dishes. All of these seem to be happening at the time where Xi Jinping wants to politically pivot everyone back to that of Mao Zedong. And so did the business guy smell the political wind blowing in one direction, and then now he's getting ready for it? And then you wonder where this is all leading to, right? Community rental, community food rationing. That means you won't own any private assets and you'll be happy with it because you'll be fed food and a living space. Obviously, given the larger political trend in China, returning to Mao era means people are starving, and everyone's going to live in communes and eat in the commune cafeterias. Seems like a push to return food production and food distribution to the state. Now, before the 1980s in China, there wasn't much of a concept of restaurants and restaurant ownerships. From the day that the CCP took office in 1949, they've tried to destroy private ownerships, right? Until the end of the 1970s, people were forced to abandon their private enterprises or assets. And so it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it's 40 years since the 80s that we've seen restaurants and stuff open in China. So China's already going back to that before they had all the private businesses. And that's really, really scary. Big cafeterias, large dining crowds, living on rationing tickets. to get their share. That's communism right there, purebred communism. But this seems like it's only applies to the regular folks in China. As we saw earlier, those officials' kids, they're in private kindergartens eating lavish meals like kings and queens. And meanwhile, this whole rental thing, if it's true, they could be moving everyone's private home ownership back to collective ownership. At least that's what they call it. And just force everyone to do rental-style community living. And that's happening in China. Who else? Maybe they're also eating those prepared meals in case of a famine or a war. You know who else isn't eating them? The police. Take a look at this video. And that's a nice feast they're eating there at the rotating table. And these guys are enjoying life. So the elite class in China, CCP officials, police, rich people, they're going to live a different lifestyle. And the regular folks prepared for the Cultural Revolution 2.0. All right, that's it for today's episode on how China is using prepared dishes in a super weird way and with all the food safety concerns, but much worse than that. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like, comment below your thoughts on this topic, and subscribe to our channel. As always, I'm David Zhang. This is China Insider. We'll see you next time.